the sun never shined on a cause of greater worth. 'Tis not the affair of a city, a country, a province, or a kingdom, but of a continent.
In the summer of 1776, America stood at a turning point. After a humiliating defeat on Long Island, George Washington had staged an overnight escape to Manhattan, ferrying some 9,500 troops across the water while the British slept. Now, the British and American armies faced each other across the East River. What had begun as a colonial rebellion barely a year before had escalated into a war for independence. It was a war few believed the Americans could win.
The British Empire had just beaten France for world domination, and here were these colonists, 3 million of them, attempting to take on this powerful nation of 3 times its size, with a great navy and a great military force. It just seemed that the odds were all with the British.
We had no money. We had no munitions factories. We had 13 separate states that thought of themselves really as independent sovereign entities and had not a very good record of cooperation. More importantly, a good percentage of the people in this country opposed the revolution, didn't care what happened, didn't care who ruled them.
The troops often lacked enough gunpowder, enough shot, lacked boots, lacked proper uniforms, lacked food, lacked blankets, lacked medicine. In effect, everything you need to equip an army at this time.
What the Americans had was the fact that, to begin with, they were fighting on their own land. They knew their land. They were fighting a defensive war.
We were fighting for something. We had much more to win, much more to lose.
As long as you had enough Americans who still wanted independence and were willing to keep on fighting for it, you could win that war. Not by winning it, but by simply tiring the English out. All the Americans had to do was not lose.
While brandishing all its military might at the Americans, Britain extended an offer for peace. The Americans rejected Britain's offer of peace. Instead, Washington decided to retreat.
I think he understood that if the British captured the commander-in-chief of the American military forces in the first set to, that would be the end of the revolution. So he knew he had to get out of there, actually. The most important thing, and Washington would say this later on, the most important thing was for there to be no major battle in which the generals of the American army were captured.
By not actually losing a major battle with the British, the Americans, in some sense, had already won a strategic victory. But the Revolutionary War was also a civil war, and when some Americans won, there were other Americans who lost.